Okay, good evening, everyone. Depending if you're in Eastern Standard Time or if you're in Israel, it's morning already. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning, Israel. We're live broadcasting from Parshah, from the Temple Mount, doing a weekly Torah Parsha. Israel Now presents weekly Parsha, and this week is Parsha's Eikev. Very important Parsha. Every Parsha is important. We're going to be discussing it right from the holiest site for the Jewish people, the Temple Mount. There's a lot going on right now. There's a passage last week of a rebellious law by the government of Israel. It passed 64-4, and we'll see what happens, what develops from it. Maybe a Supreme Court of Israel challenge sometime in September, possibly. See what happens. There's talks about big deals with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, I should point out, does not hold the Al-Aqsa Mosque or the Temple in much esteem at all. Their interest is Mecca and Medina. That's interesting. We'll see what develops. See who says what. But this Parsha is a Parsha where it's focused a lot on the destiny of the Jewish people in Israel. And Baruch is going to be speaking to us about that and giving the explanation according to the teachings as we know it from Rabbi Meir Kahana. Baruch, how are you today?
Okay, great. We're about to enter the mount. There's a nice group here today. Some important rabbis are here. Rabbi Yoseph is here, founder of the movement to restore the temple, amongst other important Jews who come up here, whether every day or once a week or once a month or periodically.
Baruch, it's a little hard to hear you. If you could speak up a little or maybe hold the phone a little, we'll see.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, again, we just entered the mount. And as you mentioned, Meir, this is a very important parsha, especially when you're talking about Rabbi Meir Kahana's teachings. Because this portion is from the beginning to the end, besides the fact that it's dealing with the greatness and importance of the land of Israel. But for the most part, it's talking about throwing out the enemies and how important it is to throw out the enemies. That we can't survive here as long as the enemies live amongst us. Which should be common sense. But it's not a matter of common sense. It's a commandment of God, of Hashem, that the enemies have to be expelled. There's no coexistence between the holy nation of Israel and the enemies of Israel, or the enemies of God in the land of Israel. And so that's how the portion begins, and throughout the portion we see it repeats itself. And when the Torah usually is very, exact in wording, it's very, it doesn't expound that much. But when it does deal with something in a more extensive manner, then usually it means that it's a very important issue. So definitely, if anybody has any doubt, our existence in Israel today proves that Rabbi Kahana is right, that the Torah is right, that we can't live with them in coexistence. Every day there's stories of what the enemy is doing to us here in the land, inside the land. And now laws are being wait a second, I have an issue here. Laws are being legislated in Knesset to deal with all kinds of serious problems that have been created by the enemy. For instance, just yesterday, they legislated the law to give a very severe punishment to sex offenders who attack women for nationalistic reasons. In other words, the enemy is using every type of crime to make our lives miserable, whether it's stealing or it's arson and even sex crime. It's all part of their national campaign to throw us out of here. So you see how bad the situation is, that if the Knesset, the parliament, has to legislate such a law, that we have a big problem, and the numbers are much more than people know about. Apparently, it's a very serious problem. Of course, we know about all the murders that go on among themselves. They kill each other. So what do you think that to do to us? Just yesterday, I saw that a former general from the Israeli army said that we should expect in the next confrontation that we're going to be attacked in the cities by enemies coming into the cities and just opening fire randomly on people because we're just not prepared to deal with this. So that's one of the reasons that Itamar Ben-Gvir, the Minister of Internal Security, demanded that there be a unit of national security to deal specifically with this matter. I don't know if they're going to be ready or not ready the next round, and it looks like it's coming very soon because the enemies look at us as being very weak right now with a lot of dissension among the ranks, and so they look at that as weakness. Of course, like you just mentioned with the thing with Saudi Arabia, obviously the enemy here is not interested in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is their enemy too, because like you said, Saudi Arabia, as far as they're concerned, they have Mecca and Medina. They don't want the Temple Mount or the mosque. And in fact, back in the day, Yasser Arafat, his name should be cursed, had a plan to try to make the entire Temple Mount place holier than Mecca for the Muslims. His plan was thwarted, but that was his intention. So there's definitely a lot of competition between the Muslims of Israel and the Muslims of Saudi Arabia. So
Right.
I don't know how it's going to play out. Obviously, we're not interested in relations with Saudi Arabia or any other Arab country. But again, I don't know how it's going to take the whole Temple Mount situation. The main thing that as far as we're concerned, that'll affect the Temple Mount is the amount of Jews coming up here. And we saw on Tisha B'Av, if you saw any of the clips, the movie clips from Tisha B'Av, you saw that there was close to 2,000 Jews that came up, and people were singing and dancing. The police couldn't control them because there's so many people, which just proves the point. It's just an issue of numbers. If we have the numbers, we'll take the Temple Mount back. If we don't have the numbers,
let me point something out. Let me just add something to what you said. There were thousands of Jews lining up to go up for the Temple Mount, and only about 2,200 were permitted to go up. And the time slots that are given are very minimal. So a lot of Jews were not able to go up to the Temple Mount. And also, out of the thousands who did line up at the designated times, many Jews, most likely, who would like to go up to the Temple Mount, just because of what the time limits are that they could go up, didn't even bother going. So
it's definitely
You-
the
There
problem
would have been,
what we always discussed over the years, that they treat us not even at the best, we're treated as tourists, but not even that. We're treated less than tourists. We're the chosen people. This is our holy land. This is where our temple stood. It's supposed to be our country, our land, and we're treated like third-class citizens when it comes to the Temple Mount. And it all has to do with the way the rabbi reacted after the 6 Day War, and the Temple Mount was liberated, and how the Jews streamed to the Western Wall, which is, as I've mentioned before, is a Herodic addition to the Temple Mount.
right.
Herod was an evil king who killed the Hashmonaim family. We just they're praying here. Okay, so I'm back up here. Over here we're on the eastern side, where the closest they let us go. And so here a bunch of Shimon, Bokato, and the wisdom for us, Shimon.
Keep up the fight.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, the second half of Chodesh Av is where we win. Right? The first is struggling, but starting from Tuba tomorrow, we have big wins. The Ben Ish Chai split up the year, 6 months in the Chelik of Yaakov, 6 months in the Chelik of Esav. So it basically goes Nisan, Yaakov. So it's 3 months at a time. So Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Yaakov. Was Av Elul Esav, meaning his power strong men. Through our tshuva, we grab back Shalom. Okay, then back to Yaakov. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev is ours. And then Tevet, Shvat, Adar, again Esav. We grab back Adar from Esav, from Purim. So it comes out we have 8, he has 4. 2 hot, that's also Esav is extreme. 2 hot Mudnav in the summer and then cold in the winter. But eventually everything will go back to the Chelik of Yaakov Yisrael, and that's avoiding now. So from Tu B'Av, especially, with a very strong power, we can flip the evil for good, and then we head into the Shuvah.
There you go. Oh, right here from Shimon. Comes up every day. We heard the importance of this time of year. The mention was Tu B'Av. It's the happiest day of the year for the Jewish people. As we know, a lot of great things happen. So, like I said, we have the contrast with Tisha B'Av, the month of B'Av, which is the worst time in Israel. And then a few days later, we have the greatest days of Israel. All kinds of miracles and good things happen to the Jewish people. And Shimon gave us an explanation why this is. We're getting the power back, the power coming back to us. And then it leads into Elul, the month that we start doing Shuvah towards the new year. And so this is the opportunity. Tisha B'Av obviously was a lot of awareness that was leading up to Tisha B'Av. But really more important is after Tisha B'Av. What happens after Tisha B'Av? That's what we're doing up here now. We're just, again, raising the awareness in the temple. So, again, the Parsha, as we mentioned, is all interesting thing.
One second, Mark. One thing I want to point out to those who are watching, and this will be shared. They're all shared, and a lot of people watch. Hundreds watch. So one thing I want to point out, you showed just a little clip of the Jews there davening, praying. And what I want to point out is that, it took so much effort to be able to have that Jews could pray on the Temple Mount. And it's like in an area where it's away from everyone. So Unfortunately, it just can't be like right in the open all over the place. But really, what people should understand as well, what our fellow Jews should understand as well, is that this is morning. This is the morning. And in the morning, davening, we wear our tallis and tefillin. And they're not allowing Jews to wear that on Har Bayit. Now, we are grateful at the strides that we have made that more Jews could make it up, and that some can pray, and there could be a minyan organized there. That's an accomplishment, no question about it. But the third class status that they have for Jews that we can't even bring up, let's send to, that's something everybody should understand what's going on.
This is our opportunity.
Yeah. So what's saying, right?
Mhm.
We're bothering someone. Somebody's bothered. What are we gonna do? You're absolutely right. Listen, talking about Talmud years ago in 1993, I believe. Some of our guys, Menachem Gottlieb, and some of the other guys that were activists with Rabbi Kahana for years came to me and said that talit and tefillin are like clothes for Jews. Jews wear them. It's not like explicitly a religious article. It's something that Jews wear. Some people wear it all day. We wear it tzitzit. Tzitzit is all right. Talit is not a okay. That's what it was up here. And we had this situation, and he said, let's put this in the High Court of Justice about allowing us to wear Talmud Stephen on the Temple Mount as part of our garb as Jews. So I agreed to do it. I told him I want to add a few things to it because I know for sure they're going to turn it down. But I said, let's add a few things, like for instance, the fact that the average plays soccer on the Temple Mount, filing the Holy Place. We'll add that in, prevent them from playing soccer. And there were a few other issues that picnicking all over the Temple Mount that the Arabs do to file us. So I got another one from the Rabbi Kahana. It was Herb Sunshine, who was a professor of law from Cornell University. He joined me, and we petitioned the High Court of Justice in the name of the Jewish Defense League in Israel. And we had all the guys show up wearing talis and tefillin in the courthouse. So we're sitting there, and there was nobody in the gallows except our guys. So there's three judges that in a petition to the High Court of Justice. One of them, of course, is Aaron Baruch, the president of the Supreme Court at the time, along with two other women judges. And I'm watching Baruch, and all of a sudden he like looks up. And he starts like rubbing his eyes, like he can't believe what he sees. He sees these guys in his courtroom wearing thousands of dollars. And he can't believe it. Starts looking at us. There was like a whole bunch of files on top of each other. He starts going through them. And finally, I see at the bottom of the file was our file. He takes it and puts it on top. I wanted to get us out of that as soon as possible. So, what do you call it? Herb makes the claims in English, I make the claims in Hebrew, and this and that. And I saw that it wasn't going well with the politics of filming part. They didn't like that. And the representative of the government who was challenging us, who now is in the Supreme Court, one of the really bad cases. But he and they're disgracing the talit and tefillin, our holy vessel. See that very court. Yeah, he's right. Wearing it in that court instead of this department. In any event, I said to the judges, I said, there's one thing I don't understand. How is it possible that they allow these Arabs to play soccer on the temple and picnic on the temple? I mean, did anybody picture Jews playing soccer and picnicking in a hotel, or Christians playing soccer and picnicking in the church, the nativity or whatever you want to? I said it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. How do you not show any respect to a holy place? And the guy who's the Fogelman character, the representative of the government, says, "Oh, he's just making a story. There's no place in the temple around a picnic." And Baruch says, "You didn't see the pictures?" And he turned red. Baruch says, "It's very clear. They're playing soccer on the temple now and picnicking." And I don't know about it. And he had no answer. The government attorney. So finally, the decision was written by Judge Justice Eliezer Goldberg, who wrote a 10-page decision why Carlson to fill in the holy religious vessels, and therefore, if the police believe that these vessels will cause riot or something, they can prevent them from wearing it. There's no obligation for them to stop you, but they have the right to stop you from wearing it outside. You can wear your tzitzit inside, but not until leaving outside, unless the police will. That's usually the decision of the Supreme Court. They basically give the police all the discretion. But when it came to the soccer plan, they go, "This is unacceptable." And when the police see, unless they're playing soccer next to the school here on the northern side of the Temple, which is not even really part of the original Holy Temple, they can play soccer next to the school. But anywhere else inside the Temple Mount, the police have to stop. It was the only victory that we ever had in the Supreme Court for the Temple Mount. So I've already mentioned it when Fagelin was up here. When Moshe Fagelin was up here 2 months ago, I mentioned it that we had this decision. I came to the Temple Mount with this decision back then. In other words, in 1993, we're talking 30 years ago. I come with this decision, and the cops here told me, "Listen, if the judges want to stop the soccer playing, let them come and stop that. We're not gonna risk ourselves to stop the soccer playing." I was stupid. I kind of that, I see the game here. So the time, I could have, filed for a contempt report, which I should have done, but I didn't do it. But then Fagelin, when he was a Knesset member, he found this decision. So that must have been about I don't know, 10 years ago or more.
Yeah.
And he sort of minister of Interior, and he says to him, "Look, this is a judgment by the High Court of Justice. That's not being enforced. You have to point soccer." He said, "If there's a decision by the Court of Justice, I'm enforcing it. I don't care what." It wasn't even like a good guy, but So anyhow, he enforced it. I mean, you saw here the cops started confiscating soccer balls from these kids that were playing soccer all over the place. And now they don't do it anymore because they realize it's not worth using soccer balls. I mean, they play soccer, they'll play by the school. So that was one success, maybe the only success we ever had, using the court and getting something done on this. So it's this situation is that there's no self-respect. In the bottom, that's the bottom line. There's no self-respect. I mean, the fact that right-wing government tell how to go on, and all the things that they have done. I mean, we always blame the left, but we have no right to do that. After seeing what the right-wing government has done here since Malcolm Reagan came to power, and the evil things that they've done. I mean, you take for instance right now, the Minister of Defense of the State of Israel. His name is Galant, and he was a general in the army. He was supposed to become the chief of staff, but for political reasons, they didn't let him because he was considered to be right wing. But now that he's the defense minister, he he put more Jews in we call administrative detention than any defense minister did before him. And of course, these are all religious right wing Jews that live in the Samaria and settle the land. Stand up to the Arab enemy. And he's putting them in administrative detention. If our listeners don't know what administrative detention is, it was something that was inherited from the British Mandate.
Mm-hmm.
Where they would put our the soldiers from the underground, the Etzel, and the Irgun, and the Lethi. They would put them in administrative detention, meaning that they had no trial. There was no indictment. There was no charge sheet. They didn't know. It was all secret. And basically, they sit in jail until somebody decides they're going to release them. And that's what it was. Israel's using it against the Arab enemy, for us. But then in the time of Begin, they started using it against the Jews. The leftist government never used it against the Jews, which is amazing. So this is the problem that we face. We have the so-called most right-wing government ever, and yet I don't see them going out of the way to try to help us take back the temple. I mean, Itamar Ben-Gvir, the minister, comes up here, and some of the other people from the party come up, but that's about it. Maybe a few Likud members that come up, but it's not on the national agenda. It's just not an issue. There's nobody fighting to legislate laws to help us on the temple mount.
Right.
Nothing. Back in the day, 30 years ago, there was a member from the אני לא רוצה להפריע להם. אבל אם אני קורא את זה, זה מפריע להם. Anyhow, he was from the limited party. There was a Knesset named Charlie Goodman, he was a professor from the Technion. And he started coming up to the temple, and he tried to legislate a law. He presented a suggestion for a law that would call for an massive archaeological investigation of the Temple Mount to determine exactly where everything was. And, so there'd be no question in people's minds of, where the temple was, where the altar was, where that was. There'd be no more questions. Not that I have that many questions, but a lot of people, they don't come up here because they don't know for sure. So he presented just to the committee, the law committee, and of course they turned it down. And even something that we thought to be so basic that even leftists people, why should archaeology is an important thing in Israel? And when the Arabs did the illegal dig up here and destroyed thousands of artifacts, a lot of archaeologists, made an issue around it. But useful for enacting a law that would guard the artifacts under the temple, in the temple. It was turned down by the Knesset. So even something so basic and simple as that, we couldn't get to it. And I assume that today Why the reason aren't being had because they think that it doesn't get passed. Netanyahu won't agree. Netanyahu doesn't want to be the Arab world. He wants to make agreement with Saudi Arabia and the Arab countries. So he's not just going to do anything that will upset the Arab world. And we're in this quagmire. And I said the only thing that will change it is if a massive amount of Jews come up. And it seems just to take a long time to wake the Jewish people up. They're asleep.
Right.
Like
Right.
we say the share of malot before we bless the make the grace over the meal. The share of malot like David. He says, "We return to Zion to be like dreamers. We were like in a dream world." And it's the rest of the world who tell us what's going on. Catch up, whether it's the enemy or whether it's our friend. They see it better than we do. So we're basically in a dream world. Rabbi Kahana, again, going back to the important point, getting back to this idea, is that God tells us in this portion that the reason why He gave us the land because of the forefathers, Isaac and Jacob, is promised to them, and because of the evil of the inhabitants of them. In other words, He says clearly that it wasn't because of a reward to us for our actions, but it was because of the promise to the forefathers and the evil of the people, the inhabitants of the land, that Hashem gave us from. That's a very important point. We can't look at ourselves and say, "Wow, we're great. We did it." No. We're a bunch of failures. It's only because the enemies are so evil, and because of the love of the forefathers that we're even here. So a lot of people want to say how great we are. Rabbi Ghana would say, Jews think they're so smart. But I've met a lot of smart and a lot of dumb Jews. What do you say about that? Do you find that to be true?
Well, all I could say is that I see I see progress going on. A lot of obstacles, obviously, a lot of obstacles in the Knesset still. But I think the fact that Itamar comes up here, some others, and encourages Jews to come up here, that's having a positive effect, and we're seeing more Jews come up. I think it transforms Jews the more they do come up. So as there are more coming up, like there was on Tisha B'Av, a substantial amount, given the limited period of time, even, I think we're going to see a lot more coming up, eventually affect what the government is going to do necessarily about that. But I do see more of an awakening going on, which is good. So, and I know how the rabbi tried. Right.
Well, they didn't want it. They didn't want him up here, but his students came up and continue to come up and be at the forefront of the Temple Mount movement. So
absolutely,
a lot of people recognize the fact that we're at the forefront. The Rabbi Kana wrote clearly, this is one of the conditions for redemption is the removing the enemy from out, turning it to the Jewish people to serve Temple Mount. It can't be that they're in control here. So we're waiting for something to happen, a window of opportunity to change the dynamics of it. In the meantime, raising awareness is the only way, and getting more people to come. But who knows? You never know. Something could happen, like in the spur of a moment. That's the question. Will we be ready in that spur of a moment, like the 6-Day War? 6-Day War happened, and Jews were asleep. We have here Rabbi Elman here, and he says that after the 6-Day War, he went to the chief rabbi and he said to them, "What about the preparations to do the sacrifice?" He said, "What are you talking about? What sacrifice? We have no plans." And I couldn't believe it. And that's one of the reasons why he started the movement through the temple, because he realized that it's not going to happen. The rabbis are not preparing the people, and there are no contingency plans. And 6-Day War caught everybody by surprise, and everybody went to the kotel. Except Rabbi Goren was that's the only rabbi who tried to change something up there and have prayer services. And he was thrown off. Moshe Dayan had him thrown off at the request of the Agudat Yisrael party. Because again, the rabbis don't want the temple now.
Yeah.
It's a headache for them. It's a headache for our Jews. Are they pure? Have to deal with sacrificing animals. Have all these issues that we dealt with, and they don't want to deal with them. It's a lot easier to be a rabbi who deals with kashrut questions and Shabbat questions and questions of purity for women, and that's about it. Don't really. It could be one of the reasons that they don't want to also deal with the temple and everything involved in the temple, because they don't really know anything about it. They didn't study it. I mean, you hear all kinds of ridiculous things coming out of rabbis' mouths, showing that they really don't know. They didn't study it.
Right.
That's the picture.
Yes.
So, Meir,
Baruch,
yeah.
we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
That was great. Like always, every week, we're broadcasting live from Harabite, the Torah Parsha, and a lot of people share the video after the fact. A lot of people view it. It actually shows up on YouTube when people search for the weekly Parsha, in fact, which is very good. And this is very unique because we're the only ones broadcasting the Parsha from the temple. I'd love it if more people try to emulate us. Do that. More the better. More awareness. But listen, that's what we're doing. Or final words?
Well, Meir, I did notice recently that ever since we started, at some point after we started, somebody's been sending out a WhatsApp group in Hebrew of Torah lessons on the Temple Mount. There's different rabbis, like the Weber and other rabbis, who give over Torah thought or short lessons, and somebody's sending it out, so maybe they got the idea from us. I don't know, but it catches on. Those the pages.
Excellent. The more Jews who are going to be teaching Torah on the Temple Mount and publicly, the better. Creates more of an awareness. Then we take it to another level. with more Jews involved, like a class, maybe interactive on the Temple Mount, where we have, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, several people on their cell phones broadcasting. We could do that. We have the technology, and we're all interacting with each other. Maybe we could do that moving forward, having more people involved, questions, answers, everybody with their understanding of the Parsha to reach deeper meanings from Harabite. That's the place to really get to the core of it all. What do you think of that, Baruch?
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Good. Good.
That's a mission.
Excellent. Baruch, thank you very much.
Okay. Shabbat shalom.
Have a great week. Shabbat shalom. Bye-bye.